Hey, yay. It is time to get unpacked. Oscar De La Hoya, is he blocking the fight? Is he protecting his fighter? Is he to blame? One of the best fights in boxing that could happen in 2026. But maybe, just maybe, there is more than meets the eye. That is what I want to talk about and explore because everybody by this time has heard from me or seen it posted that there is a TRO, a restraining order that has gotten away, and now Jaron Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz fight is in serious jeopardy. This video is going to be part of my Unpacked series, a deep dive, and I'm going to raise the bigger questions that nobody else is doing. Is the promoter Oscar just doing his job, protecting his investment? Is he wrong? I mean, we got to be honest here. So that is the real debate, and that's what we'll talk about. It is time to get unpacked. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I'm back with some news that some of you guys are not going to want to hear. And I need to get this out before I continue. Oscar De La Hoya put a restraining order, a temporary hold and restraining order pending a court date. I've already went over that. Check that video. So, Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis, there were people reporting that the fight was done, it's happening, and all types of stuff. Bad news. This judge coming in, Silva, and stay tuned to the end of the video because I have proof. I have the court docket and documents that I want to show you. But give me time so the people just joining understand what is going on. I'll make sure you get it by the end of this video. So, De La Hoya is Vergil Ortiz Jr.'s promoter. Seemingly, all was good. There was no real issues up until recently. Recently, Vergil Ortiz and his manager seemingly were at odds with how Vergil Ortiz, his career was being ran by Oscar De La Hoya. They didn't really appear like they liked certain things, and ultimately how certain things were being handled and that whole pipeline, and it created tension. So much so to the point where now Vergil Ortiz is actively suing his own promoter, which we've seen that in boxing before where promoters get sued. But I feel like a lot of times it's not like this, not when they're active fighters and they're about to have a fight. That's not really when you see it. You usually see it after the fact. A lot of people, they watch my first video and they're going to have questions about it. And they're going to turn to me like, yo, but Ego, please tell me who's at fault. And in this video, I'm going to really break it down for y'all. And hopefully y'all really understand what your boy is talking about. But let me explain. There's going to be some people who, if you cannot put your emotions to the side and hear me out, this is not a good video for you, right? You're not going to enjoy the content. It's not going to make sense to you. You have to be able to compartmentalize your emotions to hear what I'm saying, because I don't care if what I'm saying is favorable or not. I'm going to speak the truth. So, who's in the right and who's in the wrong? First, let me show you that it got real. United States District Court of Nevada. Plaintiff, Vergil Ortiz, Golden Boy. Defendant, So he's being sued. We know that. Plaintiff Vergil Ortiz initiated this action against Golden Boy Promotions, LLC, January 15th, seeking a declaratory relief regarding an alleged breach of contract. Golden Boy now moves for an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order, aka a TRO, right? Because Golden Boy satisfies the requirements for an emergency motion and a motion for a TRO, I grant its motion. Boom. It's over. From that, the judge said that. So now you would be going against a court order if you try to push through and say, hey, we don't care what the judge is talking about. We fighting boots. So that puts you as a liability, and that increases the risk factor, right? Who wants to go through the work of putting on a bout, announcing it, doing the press conference, if it's not going to happen? That would be a waste of money. So the people involved had better wait for this thing to play out before they move and get the proper clearance. So keep that in mind. Ortiz, professional boxer, Golden Boy Boxing Company. Golden Boy has served as Ortiz's promoter since 2016, and they got a promotional rights agreement and so on and so forth. So in layman's terms, I'm going to try to simplify this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a cop. I'm not a detective. I'm not a DA. I just know what I know. And I'm the best in my industry, the best in the business, and it's not even close. Subscribe. So here's the issue. Golden Boy has not officially renewed their deal with DAZN. They're still hashing that out, right? So Golden Boy, they might be on like a fight-by-fight basis, but they don't have a long-term contract renewal with DAZN. As you know, Golden Boy doesn't have that many big stars. Canelo left, right? And they lost people like Sinicia Estrada, Ray Vargas. They don't really have that many people. Like in terms of, they have people like Floyd Schofield, but I'm talking about people who are ready for mega fights. They got Ryan Garcia and Vergil Ortiz, and Zurdo has a big fight with David Benavidez. So pretty much those three names are probably their biggest fighters, right? Ryan seemed unhappy, and Vergil Ortiz is suing Golden Boy and De La Hoya, so I believe he's unhappy, right? And the only one contend is Zurdo Ramirez, who's fighting in May against David Benavidez. Got it? So as far as why Ortiz is suing, I guess they amended his contract or renegotiated, and there was terms that Golden Boy had to have a platform of DAZN, otherwise Vergil Ortiz can become a free agent. And basically, I guess they're trying to argue that the timing has passed, so Golden Boy didn't renew, didn't provide a fight, didn't renew with DAZN, contract void, breach of contract, we're out, right? And they're not seeing eye to eye. It didn't look like De La Hoya really wanted to make the Boots fight, and Vergil Ortiz had a face-off with Boots after his fight, and I guess wants to make the fight. And then he has people in his ear, like his manager, Rick Marinigan, who is, they're like, we're still making the fight. And then De La Hoya was like, no, we're not. We have an ultimatum. So clearly they haven't been on the same terms. So now De La Hoya is countersuing Vergil Ortiz, including Rick Marinigan, the manager, saying that he is trying to take Vergil Ortiz to other promoters like Matchroom or DAZN himself or Zuffa Boxing. And he's giving up information that should only be privy to the promoters and like numbers and whatever, right? And he's giving that up. So basically a double agent, and he's getting in the way of what Golden Boy does in managing their fighter. So now De La Hoya is countersuing, which you can do. In addition, he heard and got a call from Tom Brown of TGB Promotions saying, hey, they're making the fight with Boots, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, and they're trying to get this over the line. When De La Hoya found out about it, he put in his petition or request, which you see on the screen. I hereby order the defendant Golden Boy's motion for an emergency temporary restraining order, ECF number 10, is granted. So this bought Golden Boy some time. They now have time to kind of figure it out, and it puts a freeze or a stop on Vergil Ortiz in the Boots fight. That's why now all the reports are going to have to change their tune, because you had content creators telling you the fight was done. People were talking about purses and salaries. This is why Boxingego, I'm the best in this industry. I don't jump the gun. I don't have to clickbait. I don't have to like make the news. The news is going to come out when it's supposed to come out. But a lot of people jumped the gun and was like, this fight is a done deal. Oh my God. And people start getting in the comments, and fans start, oh, I'm picking Boots. I'm picking Vergil. Stop it. There's no point to do any of that if the fight don't happen, because there's clearly litigation and legal steps that must be completed before this fight even gets done. And that's where we're at with it. So my honest thoughts, I know a lot of people, and look, the judge even signed it, right? So De La Hoya got what he wanted, right? Which is to stop this madness while this gets figured out. Like, no, you're not moving on and cutting me out the deal. And that was the day before Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day if you celebrate. February 13th. So De La Hoya put a stop to that quick. So my thoughts are very simple. One, I feel like people aren't moving right if this even happened. Like, how are you cutting your promoter out? You don't seem to have all your ducks in a row, because you're negotiating without your promoter, without this whole case being seen by a judge, with pending litigation and a pending lawsuit, and people are pulling strings like, hey, we're ready to fight. Hey, huh? How do you do that? Where they do that at? Like, usually if you have a pending case, you got to kind of wait, see how that play out. Like, for example, Canelo had clearly good lawyers and high-powered people. So when he had problems with Golden Boy, he didn't start mapping out fights that would, in the interim, when he was still connected to Golden Boy, before it had been fully resolved and figured out, he didn't start planning his own fights without Golden Boy. He sued Golden Boy, initially included DAZN, later dropped their name, and Canelo did it the right way. Went through the process, got released as a fighter, and boom, he's off to the races. And then he worked with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. Then he worked with PBC and Al Heyman. And now he's working with Turkey, because he did it the right way. But I feel like a lot of people are instantly mad at Oscar De La Hoya, like, oh man, Oscar, he got in the way. These are just man fans. The reason being, how would you feel if you felt you had a fighter that you had done right by, whether you agree or not, right? And that fighter and his team, or a portion of his team, try to cut you out the deal and then make a big fight and then make it without you. So I guess you don't get paid off of it. And then on top of that, De La Hoya is heated because Vergil is one of his chess pieces. If Vergil is with Golden Boy, that gives him a bit more leverage to negotiate a DAZN deal. DAZN, they're a platform. They want big fights, right? They want and need big fights. So if DAZN can get a big fight, Jaron Ennis, and Boots fight, and they could do it without Golden Boy, then it kind of lowers Golden Boy's leverage in terms of why do we even need Golden Boy for these little small, Alexis Rocha cards and stuff like that. So yeah, this definitely needs to go to court and may the best team win or whatever. But a lot of people are emotional because, yeah, as boxing fans, we want to see Boots versus Vergil Ortiz, and we've already gotten the runaround. So it seems wrong that politics and lawsuits and all this is getting in the way. But it's in front of you. It is what it is, and it's here now. So you got to look at the facts. And the facts is, if I was De La Hoya and somebody was a part of my business and I had contractual obligations and rights to them, and they're trying to ran off on the plug twice, right? And they trying to run off, do business with Eddie Hearn, and then my deal don't get renewed with Golden Boy possibly in DAZN, and then you off making money with the next person. If De La Hoya's, and again, I'm not a judge, I'm not seeing the case, but what I'm saying is, yeah, if you have the paperwork that stipulates, or you believe your side that stipulates that you got rights to Vergil Ortiz for more fights, and then he trying to go off, it really is sloppy. It's sloppy. And boxing fans, y'all got to do better, right? Because the same people that said the fight was on, why would you even care about their opinion of any of this aftermath when they lied to you and said the fight was happening before the fight got announced? That's why for me, I don't care about being first. I'm not trying to announce a fight and then an hour later, a day later, they're like, no fight. That makes me look bad. So that's why I just chill out and wait for somebody to post it. It ain't no rush for me. But a lot of content creators rush and put whatever out, and now because they lied to you, they're gonna look for scapegoats. Oh, let me make a follow-up video blaming Oscar. Let me make a follow-up video. I seen it. People in the comments and stuff, they talking about Tom Brown. They're blaming him because he phoned De La Hoya, said, hey, they're trying to make the Boots fight. And Mike Coppinger of Ring Magazine says, Tom Brown tells me he wasn't alerting Golden Boy to Matchroom attempting to stage Boots, Ennis, and Ortiz fight on April 18th, that he assumed Golden Boy was co-promoting the event and felt it could hurt PBC's May 2nd Cinco de Mayo card with Benavidez and Zurdo, because that's a fight that's a co-promotion with Golden Boy. So that makes perfect sense. People were framing it like Tom Brown called De La Hoya the snitch. Like, oh, he a rat. He trying to rat on the comp and block a fight and prevent it from happening. But that's not it at all. He's like, we're doing the Benavidez Zurdo, which is like a Mexican extravaganza, Cinco de Mayo. Why would you put Jaron, Ennis, and Boots a couple weeks ahead of that, also in Vegas? That kind of gets in the way of our fight. So he was under the impression that De La Hoya was a part of the Boots thing. He didn't know that they're trying to cut him out, right? And just to prove how sloppy Vergil's side is looking right now, a fan said Vergil Ortiz versus Jaron Boots Ennis in Vegas on the same day as WrestleMania. Seriously? And then Mike Coppinger said, that's a great point. That's wild. So you got Eddie Hearn, who is not an American. Oh, yeah, Mike, one more week, Mike, right? He's a British promoter. Clearly, you have no knowledge of how America truly works, right? It's not your primary market, if you will. Because, like the fan is saying, why on earth would you schedule a fight with Boots and Vergil Ortiz in Vegas, right? the same day of WrestleMania, and I pulled it up to confirm it. Allegiant Stadium, WrestleMania Vegas. You guys see it on the screen, right? So, look, Saturday, April 18th. So the target date would have collided with this. Now, some people would argue, oh, there's not really a crossover overlap. Man, y'all don't understand how this works. Vegas, there's only but so much money, especially in today's economy, right? There's only but so much money, right? So it doesn't really make sense to stage your event when they got this big WrestleMania the same day. It just doesn't. Because let me say, playing devil's advocate, Keanu Reeves. I'm Al Pacino. I'm Keanu Reeves, devil's advocate, right? Okay, there's no overlapping audience, right? Cool. But it's still going to be an influx of people in Vegas, which means Ubers, Lyfts will be busy, will be occupied, hotel rooms. So how do you put a big fight in boxing? There's only but so many hotel rooms. So that could create issues where now, because Vegas is a money town, they lost a lot of money in the pandemic. They're going to start hiking up the price. Like, hey, okay, we got J-Lo in town. We got J-Lo, Teofimo voice, right? We got WrestleMania in town, and we got a boxing event. So guess what happens to the room rates at the MGM and all the hotels? They go up. So it really is bad business that they would even try to schedule this. So to be honest, I know this is not really popular, but De La Hoya is kind of cooking. If we're really being honest, one, you kind of get in the way of the Benavidez fight with another fight involving a Mexican American, right? A couple weeks before Benavidez Zurdo in the same city. Two, you have to compete with WrestleMania on the same day, which makes no sense given what I just said. So this is what happened. It really looks sloppy. And like for me, this looks bad because people always believe it's easy. They can do what you do easily until it's time for them to actually do it, right? So Vergil Ortiz, like, he sounds like him and his manager at a point where they feel we don't need Golden Boy. They're not serving our interests. We got a bone to pick with them, whatever. But to me, this kind of proves that you do kind of need Golden Boy, because I honestly feel that De La Hoya, being a former fighter, an Olympian, and a longtime promoter, he's been involved with Canelo and Mayweather and worked with Heymans and the Richard Schaefer's of the world, put on big fight, Canelo Triple G, right? So I think he has an identity of the market, whether you like him or not. I feel like he understands that. Versus Eddie Hearn, he trying to stagger a fight in Vegas on the date where it competes with WrestleMania. Like, do people not look things up? Right? You got the Allegiant Stadium that's about to have WrestleMania, and then down the street you're gonna have this fight. It kind of gets in the way. And most people, like, if you have a fight in LA and the Grammys is a certain week, they're not going to go against the Grammys or the Super Bowl or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to schedule it like that to the point where people are forced to choose. Because when people are forced to choose, then they're going to choose with their wallet on what they want. And maybe that is WrestleMania. Because let's be real, Vergil Ortiz and Boots, it really is not even a big fight, right? And I know this is going to be shocking. It's not a big fight. Like, what I mean is, it's not like Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao, Floyd Canelo. It's not like a fight where Canelo and Triple G. Max. You know, where the people, like, HBO did a good job building Triple G, and we, of course, knew who Canelo was. It ain't that type of fight, right? If you walk down the street in LA and say, hey, who's Jaron Ennis, or show a picture of him, a lot of people probably don't know who he is. If you come out to the Bay and show a picture of Vergil Ortiz, say, who is this? Or a police lineup with a bunch of people, and then say, point out Vergil Ortiz from here. A lot of people aren't going to know that. So for real, I'm a boxing head. I want to see Vergil Ortiz versus Boots. I truly do. But it's not really been marinated, and these guys aren't like the most enigmatic, charismatic, larger than life people that are well established. It's not even a title fight. Tell me I'm lying. I'm really cooking y'all. It's not a title fight. Boots just moved to 54 and fought a Lima. A lot of people didn't watch it, so it's not like this crazy backstory where everybody watched Boots' last 5 fights. Hardcore fans watch Boots' last 5 fights. Hardcore fans watch Vergil Ortiz's last 5 fights. Vergil Ortiz fought Lubin. Lubin got beat by Fundora years ago. You know what I mean? No title, competing with WrestleMania. I understand De La Hoya's plight. If I'm being honest, I understand it. And I understand why he out here getting temporary restraining orders. And then on top of that, they trying to cut you out the pie. Hey, I do believe he makes a strong. Hey, I'll be right there on my De La Hoya. If I created something and then people try to cut me out the deal, nah. I watched the Diddy doc, and that's what happened to the dude, Keith or whatever his name was. The dude said he formed Bad Boy Records with Puff, and then somehow, some way, Puff got him about the contract and took sole ownership of it. Nah. If you owe Boxingego money, we gonna get to it. Somehow, some way, I need my scratch. Golden Boy obtained a temporary restraining order in Nevada to stop the fight from proceeding for now while it's in a legal battle with Ortiz. So, again, I can understand the boxing fans. They're not going to like me saying it. But I don't care if you like it or not. I'm telling you the truth. This looks sloppy. It looks very bad. Like, it looks like bad business. Why would you... People are going to blame Tom Brown. People are going to blame Oscar and Golden Boy. I blame Eddie Hearn and Vergil and Rick Morinigan more than I blame Oscar, because Oscar's looking at, he like, I nurtured this kid. Remember Vergil Ortiz and Ryan Garcia? And then Oscar made a comment, said Vergil Ortiz is my best prospect. So he like, I've been vouching to the point where it almost fractured my relationship with Ryan Garcia at a point in time, because I said that Vergil was the best. Now they trying to pull the rug from underneath me? Nah. And then do a fight with Eddie Hearn, and maybe I don't get my deal with DAZN renewed. So for me, we'll see how it plays out. I don't know, but it's just business. And I feel like in these situations, you must go through the proper channels in litigation. And the reason I said I blame Eddie Hearn and the people, Team Vergil, because you're trying to fit a square peg through a round hole, right? Timing is everything. And it don't look like the time makes sense for this fight to happen. So if you keep trying to push, it's like a door. You know, when the door says push and you're pulling, door's not going to open. Door says pull and you're pushing. You're literally doing the opposite, right? Men do this all the time, right? Where there's a coworker, they got a crush on the girl. Maybe the girl would feel you if you don't smother her, right? Don't smother her. Give her some space. Tell her like, hey, I want to take you out, and let her breathe on it. The dudes that are like persistent and she's like, not right now, I just went through a breakup, and they insist, that's going to repel the girl. So a lot of times people do stuff that actually has the adverse effect of what they want to happen. And it don't look like the stars are aligned for this fight to happen. So again, it's going to be very disappointing to boxing fans, but from a business sense and a legal sense, I truly understand why Oscar De La Hoya is getting in the way. So again, you can have emotional take. Oh, he just doesn't want. He knows that Boots is gonna beat. You guys can say all that. I don't know who wins the fight. I would actually favor Boots to beat Vergil Ortiz, if you're asking. But it's not even about that. We're just getting to. You got to handle the business. Does it seem like you should push forward with a fight if you're suing your promoter, he's countersuing you, right? This hasn't been completed. You haven't went to court about it, and then you're over here still pushing forward like, hey, we still want to fight Boots with Eddie Hearn and DAZN, thinking that the person that really is responsible for why we know Vergil Ortiz, Oscar De La Hoya, is going to just sit back and watch you snatch his dude and not go out with a fight. I mean, to me, that sounds crazier than what I'm saying. You think you just going to come in, go in, gaffle the money, and run to one of your aunt's cribs and borrow a dang dress and one of her blonde wigs. Tell her you need a place to stay. You'll be safe for days if you shave your legs with Renee's razor blades, right? You think you're going to go in and gaffle the money and just take his fighter and he just going to sit back like, oh, well, could have been. Like, no, he don't have no deal. The boy, De La Hoya, ain't got no deal with DAZN. The deal might be contingent on getting a big fight like Boots. So, again, if he feels I have the paperwork to validate that Vergil is still contractually obligated to me, you can't just bounce on that. David Benavidez, some of y'all, I know boxing. I don't know about y'all. I've been doing this. Benavidez tried to go to Top Rank at a point in time. And Samson Lukowicz was like, nah, look it up. Don't take my word for it. I know I'm great. I know I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. Samson Lukowicz was like, no, I have you under contract. It don't work like that. And it was to the point where Top Rank had his brother, Jose Benavidez, at the time, and they gave some upfront money to Benavidez. It was like $250,000 or something. Benavidez had to give the money back because the deal didn't actually get formalized. Here's another example. I could do this all day. I'm really him, right? Here's another example. You had Ryan Garcia many times where he was like sick of Golden Boy, but he had to keep, he not a free agent. You see Golden Boy name on the Barrios fight, right? Here's another example. Remember when he tried to fight the Japanese fighter, kickboxer, Onpo? And it was scheduled. They were talking trash. They had a face-off. They had a whole Fan Mio press conference, right, to announce the fight. What happened? Just like this, De La Hoya was like, Ryan's my fighter still, legally. That Onpo fight, get that out of here. That ain't finna happen on my watch, right? And guess what? To this day, Ryan never rescheduled the Onpo fight. So that was very close to what we're talking about here. It was in bad faith or bad business to not really be free and then gallivanting, moving around like you're a free agent, like you don't owe somebody. It don't work like that. And again, some people, because of sheer greed and selfishness, they're not going to understand De La Hoya's side. But I'm here to tell you, in the world of business, this is very well how it works. For example, if an artist was like, I hate my label, I want off Columbia Records, I want to go independent. If you owe the label 2 albums or whatever, you're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to give them the 2 albums to satisfy your contract. You're going to have to do like Floyd did, buy yourself out of your contract like he did with Top Rank, et cetera, et cetera. But to almost avoid the situation in the matter at hand and just mosey along like, hey, we're still fighting Boots. We just cut our promoter out. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. So that's what the court system is for. This is my unpacked breakdown where I gave you the facts, also my opinion. But for me, I think it's deeper than what people are going to frame it at. And then again, for me, don't let the people who lied to you and prematurely announce the fight, you shouldn't care what they have to say about this. Because people are going to be like, come on, Ego, you're wrong. Boots, da-da-da-da. But the people telling me that I'm wrong were also people who were saying the fight was done, which clearly there's major obstacles with this restraining order that Oscar De La Hoya got. So who's really off the mark? Whose read is really off? It can't be me. You didn't see one video from Boxingego talking about the fight is done and Vergil Ortiz is getting this much and the undercard and here's the date, April 18th. None of this stuff makes sense. Even if this lawsuit went away, you still have other questions. Why would a British promoter compete with wrestling in the same city when you got two guys who's a good fight for boxing, but they're not big mega superstars like that? For real, Vergil Ortiz, we don't know if he can sell outside of Texas for real as the lead in. You know what I mean? Boots, we don't know outside the East Coast, primarily Philly, Atlantic City market. We don't really know his numbers. So these aren't like established. Like Errol Spence was branded very well. He fought in Sheffield against Kell Brook and the chocolate right hand brownie, realistically, right? Got some UK exposure. He fought in LA. I was there when he fought Sean Porter. He fought obviously in Texas. Mikey Garcia, big fights. Ugas, big fights. Fought Crawford in Vegas. That's how you brand people. Boots ain't been branded like that, where he fighting in the UK. He fighting in the Errol Spence fought in New York with the Bundu knockout. Where he hit Bundu and Bundu folded like that. I know my boxing. They ain't brand Vergil or Boots like that for it to be a big fight. It's a good fight for boxing heads, period. Anyway, I'm done talking about it. It is what it is. They got to figure this out before the fight gets announced. That's why on my channel, I'm not here to like sugarcoat and like walk you into a dead end. Oh man, I care about the fans. I care about boxing. I care about my brand and integrity, pretty much. You know what I mean? So there's no point to have a discussion about a fight that may not happen. What's the point of that? Commenting, oh, this person's gonna win. Nobody gonna win if they don't fight, right? So there's a legal battle ahead, and we'll have to see how it plays out. We unpacked. We unpacked. We unpacked. We unpacked. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpacked. Yeah. We unpacked. We unpacked. We unpacked. Coming to you live. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately,